Hello, all my friends and followers, my viewers. This video is truly for everyone and is concerning a prophecy that is going to come in our generation. It's going to be fulfilled, more than likely. And I'll tell you later on why. And this message is for no matter what religion you're following or faith, or maybe you don't believe in anything. It does not matter. What matters is that you hear this message and let it stir in your heart and really think about it. And if you don't believe and things are happening, that this is maybe another help and confirmation for you to believe that there is a God. So already in my childhood, part of this prophecy was given to me. And now you think, oh, those Catholics are always having these kind of prophecies of the end times. By the way, one of the Q&A questions was, are we living in the end times? And I can certainly have the truth and the answer to this question. And I'm gonna tell you later on about this too. I have for certain the answer to this question. I've been asked this before and I didn't have any certainty, so I couldn't tell. I even filmed already the series of Q&As where I answered this question. I'm actually going to cut that out because my answer is going to be very different now from what I originally knew about. So it had to change. So I can tell you just a little bit about my grandma was a Protestant and she passed on this prophecy already. So it's not only for Catholics and it is already being prophesied that all over the world, part of this prophecy has been given to different people. So it's not like a religious thing, a one group thing that gets this, but this will affect the entire world. It will affect no matter what religion you follow, no matter what culture you're from, everyone will experience this. And the first part of the prophecy, I just recently got to know about. I did not know about the first part of the prophecy. I only knew about the second part. And somehow it never aligned to any kind of timeline, but now it does. So this is why I have such an urgency to bring you this message. And I want you to listen with an open heart till the end. Take in the information and just let it sink in, because this is really important. So God has revealed, and if you don't believe in God, there's going to be a sign coming that it will not be, you won't be able to doubt if it is from God or not, because it is from God. It's going to be such a strong sign where nobody can doubt if it is from God or not. So this is a really, really strong message that even atheists will be able to see the sign, and they will know that there is a God and a God existing. And this world has been falling so much that God is opening up the door of grace. And Sister Faustina Kowalska, if you don't know about her, you may have seen this kind of picture. She was supposed to have this picture painted of the merciful Jesus. And she was already also prophesying about this, and I want to read a quote to you. It says, "Before I come as a just judge," this is what God is saying, "I first open the door of my mercy. He who refuses to pass through the door of my mercy must pass through the door of my justice." So there is going to be a sign for everyone visible. There's going to be an experience that the whole entire world will experience. And it's not something that is far off in the distance, but it is actually coming pretty soon. The exact date, I will tell you about this. Only one person in the world is supposed to know. So, but anyway, so I've been learning about an apparition. And the apparition, if you're not familiar with it, is that the Holy Mother, the part of the Trinity that is the mother, because the Trinity in Christianity represents God as the Father, the Son, and then of course we have the Holy Family, so the mother is being represented. And this is the aspect, it's the Holy Spirit, the helper, the mother. And so this is, the mother is actually coming in this day and age, and for the last 100 years she's been coming even more frequently to give us different messages and warnings. So let's say we have, for example, in Fatima, Portugal, we have that the mother appeared to 3 children. And you can read about all these apparitions, and they've been all over the world. So we have in the United States apparition, we have in Nicaragua apparitions, in Germany and France and Italy, in different places of the world, even in Japan. So it's really basic in Egypt. All over the world we have these apparitions. So it's the mother coming to us and wanting to help us as we're here on earth and the humanity. So one of the messages that has been given is a really interesting one. It has not been approved by the church fully, but it is permitted to go there, to pilgrim there, to pray there, and also to do masses there. So these apparitions happened in between 1961 and 1965 in Garabandal, Spain. And this was the same time as the Council of the Second Vatican was going on. And so the whole world was meeting, and at the same time the mother came there to 4 children. And I want to read a little bit about the apparitions, and then I will explain, and then I will tell you about the message, and also a very hard confirmation of the end times. So these reported apparitions have not been approved and not condemned. They're still under investigation. However, the current apostolic administrator celebrates Mass there and allows private pilgrimages. The Pope at that time was there too and agreed with the apparitions. Similar to Fatima, the appearance of the mother to the young girls was preceded that of Saint Michael. So the archangel Saint Michael came before the mother came, who prepared them to meet Our Lady. There are 4 parts to the message of Garabandal: a worldwide warning, a miracle for all to see, a permanent sign, and finally the consequences of mankind will bring upon itself if it does not turn from fear and hatred to trust and to love God and neighbor. So this is the warning. A God-given illumination of conscience for every single individual at the same time. God's examination of our conscience for the sake of truth and for the sake of conversion. Jacinta of Garabandal, this is one of the seers, states, the warning is something that is first seen everywhere in the world and then is transmitted into the interior of our souls. It will last for a very little time, but seem a very long time because of its effects within us. It will be for the good of our souls in order to see ourselves, our conscience, the good that we have failed to do and the bad we have done. Then we will feel a great love towards our Heavenly Father and ask forgiveness for all our offenses. The warning is for us to draw closer to Him and to increase our faith. One should prepare for that day, but not await it with fear. God does not send things for the sake of fear, but rather with justice and love. He does it for the good of His children, so that they might enjoy eternal happiness and not be lost. The warning will first be some external event in the sky, like the collision of two comets. Then will come the interior illumination of consciousness. The warning will be like a revelation of the state of our souls as it stands before God, an interior revelation of all the good we have done or failed to do, and all the sins we have committed and the further consequences of those sins. It will be like our particular judgment at the moment of death, but it is a gift from God to all before death and judgment, an opportunity for conversion, grace, and mercy. This illumination of conscience will draw the good closer to God, and it will warn the wicked that the end of this time is coming. But this is not to be confused with the end of the world. So this is the first part. So I've been listening to more talks, and this message from Garabandal is not the only one. Throughout the centuries, there's different saints that have already talked about this illumination of consciousness and all the consequences thereafter. And two saints that I want to mention here is one is Padre Pio, and who don't know Padre Pio, he's one of the saints that have this stigmata. That means he had all this the signs of what Jesus had when he was crucified. So he had the holes in his hands, really nailed through. He lived in the 1960s and died. And he lived for a long time with these wounds. And he was also medically researched. They did all kinds of testing with him because, of course, they're thinking, well, maybe he afflicted that to himself, or, whatever happens. And of course, there's always people doubting. So he was actually under medical observation for the longest time and being watched. And these stigmata were real. And he was the one also giving the prophecy. And he said and confirmed to the seers of Garabandal that he has seen the same thing, and it is coming. And on his deathbed, he told the other monks that were with him when he died to send to the girls of Garabandal one of his bandages that he always covered his stigmata wounds with, and also his burial cloth that I put on top of his face as a gift from him. And also they received a letter from him confirming that he has seen the same thing. The other really famous saint that is actually became friends with the seers and actually became the godmother of one of the children of the seers is Mother Teresa. She also confirmed to me these two confirmations already of two of the greatest saints of the last century are to me like a great confirmation. So let's come back to the warning. And I've listened to several other talks and other saints and what they have been saying. So this is there's gonna be an event like some kind of collision in the sky, as if two comets are like banging against each other. And no matter where in the world you are, you're gonna be able to see this. So if it's during the day or at night, it doesn't matter. You're gonna see it. And then, actually, in one of the other visions that another saint had, it was said that Jesus would appear as a sign, and you would actually see Jesus in the sky and with his wounds from the cross. But I cannot confirm this for sure, but this is one thing that has been said about this. So what happens is the illumination of consciousness. So it will happen in an instant to everyone, no matter where you live, what your religion and for you follow, or no religion at all. No matter if you're in an airplane, if you're sleeping, if you're awake, it doesn't matter where you are, everything will stop. And another seer said everything's going to stop for 5 to 15 minutes. So how is God going to do that without airplanes falling from the sky, or people driving are going to drive over a cliff or against a tree? I don't know, but he's going to make everything stop. So the airplane is going to stop in the sky. Everything is just going to stop. So there's not going to be any accidents through this. People are not going to die because the illumination is coming and they're just not paying attention of what they're doing. So internally, you're going to see your entire life passing by, and you're going to see every sin that you have committed and everything that you have missed to do for others and for God. So it's like as if your judgment day is in that instant, and actually it's going to be shown to you where you would go if judgment day would come on that exact day. So that means some people will experience, and I know a lot of people don't believe in it, but to be able to go into heaven, you need to be totally cleansed of your ego, of everything filth from sin and everything that you have loaded up. And there is the purgatory that you will have to go through in order to go to heaven, to get rid of all of your sins, to be able to be so clean that you can even be standing in front of God. So some people will experience purgatory, so the burning away of those sins, and they're gonna feel it and experience it. It's an eternal thing. It's not something that you're gonna see like you have bruises on your arms or something. It's something very eternal, internal. And then some people will actually experience hell. And I've heard another seer talk about this. Some people are actually gonna die because it's so horrifying to see their sin and their state of being, and actually hell, that they are gonna die. They're having a heart attack and they're gonna die there on the spot. And some people, that have lived a very holy life, only little things are going to be shown, but everybody is going to be shown for your good. So you will know exactly after this illumination of consciousness what you will need to do to live a holy life and to turn your life around. You see, our society has gotten so far away from God and so everything's so wrong that a lot of people, even if they would been told, okay, you need to follow God now, and even if they want to, they wouldn't even know where to start. And some of the priests are in such a bad state too. It said in one of the prophecies and visions that some of these girls had, that some of the priest bishops are going to hell and taking people with them because they're so far away from God. And so a lot of people don't even know where to start. So everything is going to be illuminated and you're going to be able to see the state of your being. So if you're already living a very holy life, you're not going to have to fear this. It's going to be okay. You just have you're gonna have advice how to fine-tune your life to live an even holier life. Now, if you live in the greatest sin, then it's gonna be a scary event, but it's also all for the good of you to be able to have an opportunity to turn around and realize that God is real and that Judgment Day is actually coming. So people are going to come out of this, and it says in another prophecy that for about 6 weeks the devil and Satan and all the attacks from the enemy are going to actually be held back. So this is the door of grace, as Sister Faustina has been talking about. And you're going to have this opportunity to turn your life around, to have a video on the 3 gifts. Watch that. I'm going to link it underneath this video to receive the 3 gifts if you do not do this beforehand, to pray the rosary, to prepare yourself. So and if you know about confession, and I think I'm going to do a video about this, to go to confession and all these kind of things to prepare for this, or afterwards in this period of about 4 to 6 weeks, to be able to turn your life around without interference of the enemy. Because after about 4 to 6 weeks, the enemy is supposed to come back, because he's ruling the world right now, and he's going to attack people, and the media are going to go proclaim that, oh, this was a mass hallucination, we don't know what this was, but they're going to find a great explanation of why this happened to everyone, and it's going to be explained as a mass hallucination, and people are going to start to doubt again. This is why this period of time will be granted and given to you, to be able to really get into a new habit, and to turn your life around before everything is going to be distorted again. So let's keep on reading on the apparitions here a little bit further before we talk a little bit more about it. So let's keep going. Within 12 months after the warning, there will be a miracle for all to see, which will result in a tremendous outpouring of grace and healing, physical, psychological, and spiritual, at the apparition site of Garabandal, Spain. When? Why not just give the exact date? God respects our free will. We can alter when these things will occur by our response or lack of response. If many people respond by conversions, prayer, and penance, then this time will be prolonged to allow more people to convert. So there's going to be a sign coming, and it's going to be at the site where the apparitions happened at Garabandal. You're going to be able to see that permanent sign. It's going to stay there, so the media can film it. You're going to be able to see it when you travel there, and it's going to actually stay there forever. It's going to be a permanent sign of God is existing, and it's going to be a sign similar to the one that has been given when Moses led the people through the desert and through the Red Sea. So it's not explained exactly what it is, but it's been said by one of the seers that you will be able to take pictures of it, and you will be able to film it, but you cannot touch it. And it's going to be able to be seen right at Garabandal and all the surrounding area. This is a really mountain area that the site is. It's really in the mountains of Spain. It's really a little village. It's far off of any big city. And all the people at that time, when that permanent sign comes, if they're present, they're going to be healed. Healing is going to take place, and conversions. And so this permanent sign will come at Thursday at 8:30 p.m. on the feast of a martyred saint for the Eucharist, and not the feast of Mary or Jesus. In March, April, or May, it will be witnessed by all those present at the apparition site, the Pines. The Pines was an area by the pine trees where the Holy Mother appeared quite often. She appeared sometimes at different places, but the Pines were where she appeared the most. Along with miraculous healings, Conchita, one of the seers, knows the exact date. She will announce the date 8 days before it takes place. Conchita currently lives in New Jersey, and by the way, she is now 71 years old. She lives in the United States, New Jersey, and she will announce the sign coming 8 days before it happens. She's not allowed to talk about when the exact date is. And from the 4 seers, 1 already died, I think in 2009, and 3 are still alive, but Conchita is the only one that knows the date. And all about the apparitions, I just want to let you know, I will put a link underneath this video. There is a movie in different languages, in Spanish, in English, in German, I think in Polish, and so many different languages that you can watch that movie about this apparition and get also official information about the seers and the sites and the apparitions on there. So I'm going to link it also below. The permanent sign as a testimony to Our Lady's presence and love at Garabandal. Both Akita and Medjugorje, those are other apparition sites. Akita and Medjugorje have spoken of a similar permanent sign. This is not the first apparition that is talking about a permanent sign. It has been talked about in other apparitions before. Conchita testified, "The Blessed Virgin advised me of a great miracle, saying God our Lord would perform it through her intercession, just as the chastisement will be very great in keeping with the needs of the world. The Blessed Virgin has told me the date of the miracle and what it will consist of. I'm supposed to announce it 8 days in advance so that people will come. The Pope will see it from wherever he is. The sick who are present at the miracle will be cured and sinners will be converted. It will coincide with an event in the church and with the feast of a saint who is a martyr of the Eucharist. It will take place on 8:30 on a Thursday evening. It will be visible to not only those in the village but also to those in the surrounding mountains. It will be their greatest miracle Jesus has performed. There won't be a slightest doubt it comes from God and that it is for the good of mankind. There will be no doubt in the mind of anybody who sees this great miracle which God our Lord will perform through the intercession of Our Lady. And let us see if the world changes so that the chastisement will be averted, because there's a chastisement coming if people are not turning around and if the world is not changing the way it is now. So what if we don't turn around towards God? Finally, the mother spoke to the children about the consequences mankind would bring upon itself if it did not turn from fear and hatred to trust and love of God and neighbor. On October 18, 1961, the children placed in writing the message the mother gave to them. It says, "We must make many sacrifices, do much penance. We must visit the Blessed Sacrament frequently. But first we must be good, and unless we do this, a punishment will befall us. The cup is already filling, and unless we change, a very great punishment will befall us. What is the purpose of the message about chastisement? The future is not irrevocably set. If we answer the call of Our Lady, personally turn from sin and back to God, live deeper lives of prayer, especially the Rosary, and go out through authentic friendship to help others, we can change world events and save souls. For the predictions about the future were given at Garabandal, and I repeat this. Following a time of tribulation, there will be a worldwide warning in which everyone will see the state of their soul before God, the illumination of consciousness. We will see the damage caused by our sins and the good we have omitted to do. The warning will come when the tribulation will be at its worst and when the warning will be most needed. Within a year after the warning, a miracle will take place in Garabandal. It will be announced 8 days beforehand by one of the girls who knows the date. It can be seen and televised, and all the sick will be present, will be healed. A permanent visible sign will be left at Garabandal, a sign for unbelievers. In at least one other apparitions, Our Lady has promised the same. If we still do not convert, a chastisement will befall the world. This was also predicted by Our Lady at Akita in Japan, an apparition approved by the church. Oh, I want to tell you about a man who already, so there's a certain individual who have been through the illumination of consciousness. And I'm going to put a link again to one of the testimonies of a man who already went through the illumination of consciousness. I put that in the link of the video for you to watch. It's a really strong testimony. He gives testimony in Spanish and he has in English, and the English version I'm just gonna set a link to it there. If you want to know more about it and his personal experience and conversion, because he was so far away from the church and he was so into New Age and all these kind of things that he through his life and he had to go through hell physically and actually mentally too in this illumination of consciousness that he experienced is so powerful, and I really recommend you to watch it. So if you want to know a little bit more about it, you can watch his testimony on what have happened. There are a few people, individuals that have gone through the experience. So there are testimonies out there. So I want to let you know that the other message these girls received were a message of the three popes. And now we have the questions if are we in the end times? And I think it's pretty well answered. And it wasn't only prophesied about the three popes, there was also a sign giving that is already fulfilled. So listen to this. On June 3rd, 1963, the news about the death of Pope St. John the 23rd had just arrived in Garabandal. Conchita and the mother went towards the church to pray for the eternal repose of the pontiff. On the way, Conchita heard interiorly the unmistakable voice of our mother, who told her, after this pope, there will be only 3 popes, and after that, will the end of times be. Shortly after, hereafter, the mother clarified that while there would only be 3 popes, there would be another one, but he would govern the church for a very short time, and that's why she did not include him in the list. There was witnesses who affirmed that they heard Conchita speaking on this precise matter during that same month of June of 1963. This means that in a single phrase, our mother had made 2 prophecies. 1, there are only 3 popes left, after which would come the end of times. And as a sign, a 4th pope between these popes that would reign only such a short period of time that you won't count him. And he actually lived. I tell you a little bit more details a little later. But he reigned already only 33 days before he died, and he made no changes in the church. So there was no relevance to him. Secondly, and as if to assure us that the first statement was certain, our mother provided a sign. There would be another pope, but this pontificate would be so short that he was not taken into account in her message. We all know who that pope was. Those pontificate was so short that he had no impact on the church's destiny. His name is John Paul I, who was pope from August 26, 1978 until his death on September 28, 1978. The 33 days of the pontificate of Pope Luciani fits precisely into that exceptional prophecy, sometimes that was impossible to foresee in 1963, right? The three popes referred in Our Lady's message, therefore, were Saint Paul VI, John Paul II, that's the second pope, and Benedict XVI. Those are the three popes. With the arrival of Pope Francis, the time period during which the end of the time would arrive has begun. Now note, it did not say that there's not going to be any more popes afterwards. Be clear on that, because there's other prophecies that there will be a continuation of popes being in place. But with Pope Francis, in that period of time were the three popes, after the three popes, the end of times would be. So are we living in the end times? Yes, it was confirmed here through a vision and a prophecy. And nobody could have known about this 33 pontificate that happened. It was a sign for an assurance that this would take place. So the question is answered. Are we living in the end times? Yes. So next, and so what comes after, like if the people are not turning around their entire lives? You can read in the Apparition of Akita, Japan, you can read the entire message and the entire thing, what will happen. You can Google it, Apparition, Japan, Akita, End Times. You can Google it, and there's an entire prophecy and message, what will happen. And I will only read to you. So we have certain apparitions and we have certain people that confirm the end times. And I also have that Padre Pio was talking about events at the end times as well, because he prophesied about it and foreseen it as well. And there's another saint. There's actually a whole bunch of saints. I can give you some of the names because I do have them. I made put them here down in the phone. I can't all remember them. So some of the warnings in the Illumination of Consciousness, Saint Pope Pius IV was talking about it. Saint Pope Paul VI, Saint Faustina Kowalska, Blessed Anna Maria Taiti, the servant of God, Maria Esperanza, and also Franciscan Miquel Rodriguez, Janie Garza, and Matthew Kelly, and a lot of other saints over the centuries have talked about this. but I want to talk about the blessed Taiji. What she has prophesied for you for an additional. So if you're interested, go to the message of Akita, and also very much you can find it on the internet, are all what Padre Pio has prophesied about the end times. It's also very much available. The Blessed Taiji was praised by Pope Benedict the Ninth in her beatification on May 20th, 1920, as being an exemplary wife and mother amid poor and trying circumstances. She was frequently in ecstasy, worked miracles of healing, read hearts, foretold death, and saw visions on the coming of future events. She foretold the first two world wars of the century. 18 years after her death, her body remained fresh and in a state of perfect preservation, as if it had been just buried the day before. And we have a few saints that do have that. Therese of Lisieux is another one. The following are some of her visions of the future. God will send two punishments. One will be in the form of wars, revolutions, and other evils. It shall originate on earth. The other will be sent from heaven. And this prophecy is not only in the Catholic Church. This prophecy, my grandma already told me about this prophecy. I knew about it already as a little child. My grandma already died. Blessed be her heart. But she already foretold me these things. So this part of the prophecy. So it says, there shall come over all the world an intense darkness lasting 3 days and 3 nights. Nothing can be seen, and the air will be laden with pestilence, which will claim mainly, but not only the enemies of religion. It will be impossible to use any man-made lightning during this darkness except blessed candles. He who out of curiosity opens his window to look out or leaves his house will fall dead on the spot. During these 3 days, people should remain in their homes, pray the rosary, and beg God for mercy. And Padre Pio was saying the same. It's going to be, he even went further, and I'm just going to outline just a little bit. You can go read further about it. He said it's going to be a really, really weird cold night. It's going to be so cold, and the sun is just not going to rise. And there's going to be fire falling from the sky, and it's going to be 3 days of such total darkness. And you're supposed to shut all your windows, not go outside. So if you're caught outside and you are a faithful for God, you're actually going to be a martyr for God. So you're going to die as a martyr. And the other people are just going to die. It's a punishment. So for all other people that are faithful to God and know about the prophecy, they're going to stay inside, and for 3 days they have to keep everything shut, not going outside, just staying inside. Only blessed candles will be able to be lit. No electricity, nothing will work. And Padre Pio even advised people to store up food and water, actually not only for the 3 days, but for 3 months, because once after those 3 days, there's going to be so much destruction of everything that it's going to be really difficult, and you will have to build up again. It's going to be spring, so things are going to grow again, but it's going to take some time. And it's if you don't provide enough food and water, you're gonna starve to death. And you're supposed to pray the entire time and stay inside. If you're peeking outside, you're gonna die, even looking to the outside. And Padre Pio was foretelling this too. My grandma was foretelling this. It's been over the centuries, people knew about this prophecy, the punishment that will come from God if people are not turning around. And before this, the sign of mercy will come. So we have the two sides, the two doors, right? God stated to Faustina, you either have the door of grace or you have the door of judgment. And surely you don't want to go through that and wait until that, but actually take that great opportunity that God is given to all of us. So the blessed Teiji is writing further, on this terrible occasion, so many of these wicked men, enemies of this church and of their God, shall be killed by this divine scourge, that the corpses around Rome will be as numerous as the fishes which a recent inundation of the Tiber had carried into the city. All the enemies of the church, secret as well as known, will perish over the whole earth during that universal darkness, with the exception of some few whom God will soon after convert. The air shall be infested by demons, who will appear under all sorts of hideous forms. After the 3 days of darkness, Saints Peter and Paul, having come down from heaven, will preach throughout the world and designate a new pope. A great light will flash from their bodies and settle upon the cardinal, the future pontiff. The Christianity will spread throughout the world. Whole nations will join the church shortly after the reign of this Antichrist. These conversions, shortly, maybe you missed it. Whole nations will join the church shortly before the reign of the Antichrist. That is not the end. The Antichrist will come soon after. So I don't want you to miss that. These conversions will be amazing. Those who survive shall be to conduct themselves well. There shall be innumerable conversions of heretics who will turn to the bosom of the church. All will note to edify conduct of their lives, as well as that of other Catholics. Russia, England, and China will come into the church. France will fall into a frightful anarchy. The French people shall have a desperate civil war in which old men themselves would take up arms. The political parties, having exhausted their blood and their rage, without being able to arrive at any satisfactory and understanding, shall at the least extremity agree by common consent to have recourse to the Holy Seat. Then the Pope shall send France a special legate, in order that he may examine the state of affairs and the dispositions of the people. In consequence of the information received, His Holiness himself shall nominate a most Christian king for the government of France. Religion shall be persecuted soon after, and priests massacred. Churches shall be closed again, but only for a short time. The Holy Fathers shall be obliged to leave Rome. So these are some of the prophecies that are not only concerning our church or a few Christians or a few people. Guys, this is what is going to happen, and it's been, the seer of Garabandal is 71. She's not going to live another 100 years unless God grants her to. But it's very unlikely. And there's also been other seers that have confirmed that this will come very soon. And as I received this message and I was going through materials, really the urge of necessity was really, really coming to me as well. That this message needs to be spread. You guys, you need to know about the 3 gifts. I have a video on that. This is so important. Please watch that video. And also, I'm going to start in November. I will start a rosary, teaching you guys the rosary, teaching you guys to pray. And if you have any thoughts about the rosary, maybe you're against it or you have questions. I know that a lot of Christians are like, well, is that vain repetition? Is that biblical? And all these kind of things. I'm going to have an explanation video of all of this before I teach you on the rosaries. So we will go through that in the end of October or November. This is what I'm gonna have planned, so you can start praying with me and learning to pray and really prepare yourself for the things to come. So this was a very heavy topic, and some of you might laugh at me and don't believe it, but it doesn't matter if you believe me or not. As I say, there's several videos linked underneath this video that I really advise you to look into it. Look also into the messages that in Japan, Akita through the apparition came. La Salette is another apparition site that were given messages about these end times. And also Padre Pio has strongly prophesied about this, but he's not the only one. It's all over the world. And we are just, our world is such in a bad state that, you know, it's time. And because of his mercy and grace, God is giving us another chance to turn our lives around. And I really do hope you're taking this opportunity. God bless you.